I'm late in getting this started. I apologize for that, but I was watching Sportsnet to see what was the update on this crazy storyline going on with Bill Peters. And just as like an FYI, just throwing it out there, Eric Francis and the other reporter who was next to him, they said that their phones have been lit up today with players, staff, people around the NHL with, have we got stories for you? So and it's not Bill Peters. They're saying that there's a lot of stories that have gone on around the hockey world over the last however long that people are now like, you know what, this wasn't acceptable, and I saw this. So we're going through a major adjustment right now. I enjoyed Paul Maurice telling the truth and talking about how the game has changed and he's had to change his coaching style and he's been told to knock it off at times by players. And we're in the midst of a massive change, so that's why I'm late getting this started. And again, at some point we're going to have that conversation. It just doesn't feel like we're done with the revelations yet. It could be a while. First up, Boston in against the Montreal Canadiens. I don't know what happened here. I'm going to be honest. This score, how? Every time Boston got a chance, it went in the net. Every time Montreal got a chance, for the most part, Halak said, yeah, nope. Halak denied Kotkaniemi early. The Habs then took a penalty, and the Bruins made him pay. It's Jake DeBrusk from Corrali and Krejci at 8:03. So DeBrusk gets on the board. I mentioned him in the preview this morning. Good on him. The Canadiens at that point were ahead 10-4 in shots. It was then 12-4 in shots, as Shea Weber gets a goal from Gallagher and Tatar at 12:40, and it felt like this was going to be a really good back-and-forth game. It really did. It felt like this was going to be one of those ones where last shot wins. The Bruins got another power play, and they would score again. Pastrnak from Coyle and Marchand at 14:24. That makes them 2 for 2, and it's 2-1. So 14:24 into the period is 2-1. It was tied for a total of 2 minutes and 4 seconds. The Habs then got a power play with the idea that they'd answer. They didn't score on that one. Coyle had a wraparound in the last minute that almost scored. But in that last minute, a bad turnover by the Montreal Canadiens at the wrong end of the rink. And Marchand makes him pay at 19:23. So those last minute goals in a period come back to haunt the Montreal Canadiens. So to start the second period, now Montreal, who've been known to have those quick strike goals early, not tonight. Pastrnak scored from Marchand and Chara at 8 seconds. 8. So it was 4-1, and yet, I don't know how. It was 4 goals on 10 shots. Bjork then went in, and he got a goal from Corrali at 1 minute and 10 seconds, and I put on the board, ugly game. Habs got a timeout, and Carey Price was out of the net. So I don't know what happened here. I really, really don't. That was 2 goals on 2 shots at the start of that period, I believe. 2 goals on 3 shots at the start of that period. It doesn't really matter. This is an embarrassing event at home. The Habs got a power play shortly after that, but it's almost done. First Pastrnak scored from Carlo and Krejci at 9:06. Sorry, I lost track of the goals here. That made it 6-1. Then the Habs got a power play, but that wasn't going anywhere. They only got 2 power plays in the game, so everything else from here was pretty much on the up and up. I didn't understand this one. This one didn't make any sense to me, as Boston only had 15 shots after 2 periods, and they had a lot of goals. They had 6 goals. Montreal had 27 shots, and they had 1 goal to show for it. Third period, Coyle scored from Krug and Corrali at 8:26, and then with 2 minutes and 2 seconds left, Heinen scored from Studnicka and Krug. So Studnicka gets on the board in his first game, and so that's good for him. Krug, that was 2 helpers for him. Pasta gets a hat trick. Ho-hum. Pasta continues at this incredible pace. He's going to fall off soon. He has to. This is becoming a meme at this point where I will say he's going to fall off, and then his goals actually pick it up. So if he watches my videos and he's like, I'll show him. Okay, you showed me. 8-1 is your final. 8. Halak, 36 saves on 37 shots. Price only saved 6 out of 11. Kincaid saved 10 out of 13. Your 3 stars are Pasta with his hat trick, Marchand, who's everybody's favorite, he had 3 points tonight. And Sean Kuraly, a very underrated player who ended up having 3 helpers of his own tonight. So, yeah, Boston went in and spanked Montreal in Montreal. I don't know how much worse things can get for Montreal than this, but after that 6-5 loss, this shouldn't happen. This is we want our coach fired territory, and we've already got one coach that's out in Canada, another one that's on life support that could be gone as early as tomorrow morning, and Montreal going, oh well, we can dive into this. So 8-1. Shots. Check this out. 13-8 Montreal in the first, 14-7 Montreal in the second, 10-9 Montreal in the third. Final shots 37-24 for Montreal. Boston 2 for 2 on the power play. Montreal 0 for 2. This was an easy game for Boston, and yet when you look at the shots, it really shouldn't have been. This was a defensive complete and total meltdown by the Montreal Canadiens, and there's some ugly, ugly numbers out there for Montreal right now. We'll see if they can bounce back from this. I don't think they play tomorrow. I've already got the three days worth of, or three boards worth of matchups up here. No, they don't play tomorrow. So they've got, all right, they play Thursday against New Jersey. So that'll be interesting. That's the only game on Thursday, too. Surprised that slipped my mind at all, but there's been a lot going on today. Speaking of New Jersey, they were at home against Minnesota, and you've got to think, all right, well, Minnesota's got a miserable road record. There's a good chance for New Jersey to get above 4-4-4. Nope, 4-5-4 after tonight. It was a slow start to this game, especially when you look at that one over there. They started at the same time. However, Suter scored from Fiala and Koivu at 5 minutes and 30 seconds. That's on the power play. Minnesota not known for scoring power play goals tonight. They get one. And then there was a goal that was challenged. So Simmons plays it to Boquist at 12:44. The Wild challenged it, apparently, and I didn't see the actual confirmation this is what they were challenging, but it did appear that Simmons contacted the puck with a high stick at center ice. And you can challenge for that they should have had a stoppage of play. So the referee said no, there was nothing on that play to warrant a stoppage, and so Minnesota goes back to the power play. They killed that one off, though. Second period. One thing that was noticeable was, as the game went along, Kaapo Kakkonen got better. And he honestly, tonight, I think, showed that he's kind of ready for the NHL. But again, it's the first game, so you got to be careful with that. The Wild really hemmed the Devils in for about 2 minutes of that period. It looked like the Devils were killing a penalty. They weren't. Greenway then scored from Eriksson Ek at 10 minutes and 7 seconds. The Wild go to the power play. Kevin Fiala ends up hitting the post. The Devils got a power play. They would score on theirs. Palmieri from Hall and Hischier at 13:28. With that power play goal, it ties things up at 2. And Palmieri from Hall and Hischier, that's a scoring combination New Jersey fans want to hear. So it's 2-2 going into the third period. In the third period, kind of early, Suter from Donato and Hartman at 3 minutes. That one was kind of out of nowhere. And it was one that, honestly, it was one of those moments where if you weren't watching the screen, you weren't actually paying attention to the game. If you were doing something else, you wouldn't even know a team had scored. There was no reaction in the building, almost no reaction from the announcers. And yeah, it was quite the amazing goal for Suter. Vatanen then had a really nice play where he kind of went around and through the Wild, but that was saved by Kakkonen. And the Wild got a power play. The Devils did get a push with about 8 minutes left, but you never really got the feeling they were going to tie this. And then the empty net. The Wild hit the post with the empty net. I believe it was Eric Stahl that hit the net, or hit the post. No, it could have been Fiala. Either way, they hit the post. You feel like that could be major because when you miss an empty net, it can come down the other way. It didn't. New Jersey ends up losing at home 3-2 to the Minnesota Wild. Kakkonen gets a win in his first ever NHL start, 32 saves on 34 shots. Excellent numbers. Domingue, 26 saves on 29 shots. Your 3 stars, Suter, Palmieri, and Greenway. Power play, 1 for 4, Minnesota, 1 for 2, New Jersey. Shots were 12-9 Minnesota in the first, 15-10 for New Jersey in the second, 10-7 New Jersey in the third. Final shots, 34-29 for New Jersey, but Minnesota comes out as the winners. So, good game for them. And for the Devils, they get to play the Montreal Canadiens on Thursday. And if Montreal loses that one, boy howdy, will there be some panic among Montreal fans. We have the Panic Index tomorrow. That's a good segue into that. Panic Index is tomorrow. So we'll see where Montreal is on that. Moving along, last game of the night. Dallas kind of did what I said they would this morning. I mentioned it in the preview this morning. I felt that this was a perfect opportunity for Chicago to get a win, and they did. And Dallas, this was a troubling return to early form in the season. Hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come. Hopefully this is just, it was their second game in 2 nights. Maybe they were tired. Maybe they just ran into a really hot goaltender, or both. So, first period, Crawford stopped an early chance for Dallas, and then Saad ends up scoring to open it at 11 minutes and 20 seconds from Gustafsson and Nylander. That makes it 1-0. The Hawks were leading in the shots by about a 2-1 margin. The Stars got a power play. Foxa was robbed by Crawford. The powerless power play for Dallas was kind of back tonight. Second period, there was a close call for the Stars that went wide, but you just didn't get the feeling the Stars were coming back in this one. The Stars got a power play. Didn't matter. Crawford had a denial of Sagan late in that period. And again, Corey Crawford on his game, and Dallas just looking like early season Dallas. Third period, there was a fast break for DeBrincat that was saved. Very nice game for Hudobin. Not that he gets a lot of credit for it, but he doesn't get a whole lot of goal support from the Dallas Stars. And just checking it now, at the time I started this, they hadn't done the 3 stars on the app, but they have now, and yeah, Hudobin didn't get a 3rd star, so he's my honorable star of the night. Not that that's going to make him feel any better. Hudobin robbed Shaw, and I put up here goal support for Hudobin with a question mark, because this was a problem last season. It's a problem they haven't had recently, but if this starts cropping up again, that's a problem for Dallas. Crawford stopped Pavelski. It was a nice chance for him. Hudobin at the other end stops Gustafsson. Both goalies were kind of trying to upstage each other, and they both did very well in that third period. The Stars could not get through the Hawks. This was a situation where all 5 red jerseys would stay back, and Dallas just couldn't get through. It was a really solid third period by the Chicago Blackhawks. Radulov took a stupid penalty at 9:49. I've got to say, Radulov has taken a lot of bad penalties this year. And that's another thing that kind of calmed down during the winning streak. But yeah, there was a while there where it seemed like he was averaging 2 a game. On that power play, Kane from DeBrincat and Shaw at 10:42, and that's really where it ended it. Any hopes of Dallas coming back really died there. Crawford was also giving them absolutely nothing. There was nothing of value going towards Dallas in that third period. Dallas pulls the goalie with 3 minutes left. Well, you know what happens there. The empty net gets hit by Connor Murphy at 17:20. So good on Murphy for getting a goal. Maybe that'll get him going. And for Chicago, it's a 3-0 score. Now, what's interesting is I put this score on the board before it was even 2-0. Or I was like, well, Chicago's going to score and then they'll get the empty netter. Because I've seen this script before. So, yeah, 3-0. Hudobin saves 35 out of 37. He was fantastic. Crawford gets his 26th career shutout. And 32 saves for him. Your 3 stars, Crawford, Saad, and Kane. I cannot argue with Saad and Kane being on that board. Kane is now on a 13-game point streak. And, again, Hudobin was great. Power plays. Dallas doesn't have one. They ended up being 0 for 2. And Chicago does. They were 1 for 1. So, very, very good game for Chicago. Shots were 12-9 Chicago in the first, 14-11 Dallas in the second. 15-9 Chicago in the third. That's how you shut things down. You keep it at their end of the rink. 38-32 are your final shots for the Chicago Blackhawks. So there you go. We are all done for tonight. And tomorrow we have 13 games. So on top of whatever crazy news comes out tomorrow, and it feels like we are in this huge thing in the NHL. And boy, oh boy, we're going to have a really busy night. And we could end up with some really tremendous news all over. So stay tuned for that. Hit like and subscribe if you haven't already, because this is the channel where you're going to want to be while the news breaks kind of thing. I do my best to bring you the news as soon as it breaks, even if I'm not home to bring it to you. So thank you guys so much for all your support, and I will talk to you again soon.